And now, weighing in out of the blue corner, Josh the Punk Thompson. 100%. And on the other mic, he weighs in from the red corner, Big John McCarthy.
Well, hello to everyone. It is Wednesday, and we are going to talk about some of the fights coming up. We have got Bellator 293 coming up from the Pechanga Resort and Casino in Temecula, California. And we have on Saturday night Gamebred Boxing, which has got some interesting matchups. We've got Anthony Pettis facing a legend in Roy Jones Jr. That's someone that you want to box, right, Josh?
No. I didn't want to try to fight kids these days, let alone somebody like Roy Jones Jr. Like, I don't understand the urge, but whatever, man. Obviously, he's got to be getting paid pretty well. I mean, a chance to fight a legend, bro. Like, I get it. I mean,
I totally get it. What I don't get are the people saying, oh, Anthony Pettis got a really good shot at beating him. Have you lost your mind?
I'm not one of those guys, but
I didn't say you were, but those people.
But Roy's chin is not what Roy's chin used to be.
Guess what? You have to touch Roy's chin.
That's true. I mean, you know what? I mean, like, he surprised me a lot when he fought Mike Tyson in the Triller fight, because I was expecting Mike to be able to really put him on his ass after a couple big shots. Because Mike, he has that power.
But he was able to slow Mike down based upon knowing how to hold, knowing when to hold, knowing where to move, taking away some of his weapons. That's Roy Jones Jr. You're talking about one of the best goddamn boxers of all time.
Yeah. Phenomenal fighter. Before we get started, obviously, we're going to get into this. WeighingInMerch.com. Head up at WeighingInMerch.com. Pick up some of our sweatshirts, hoodies, hats, all the things that are available. Look, a lot of short sleeve shirts are out. New styles are out, I should say. And check them out for the summer. So check them all out. Check it all out. And also, we've joined, obviously, as you guys all know, we've joined with OnlyFans. So OnlyFans.com/weighingin. It's free. Costs you nothing. Go over there, subscribe to our channel over there, and you guys can submit your fan questions. We're going to do a lot of fan questions, I think, today. So we'll do some fan questions today that we had put up on our OnlyFans over there. Submit your fan questions on OnlyFans. Only on OnlyFans can you submit your questions. Boom. So check it out. Check us out over there. We're going to go ahead and we're going to jump right into some of this Bellator this weekend, and then we'll get into the Gamebred fights, and then we'll take some fan questions and see if there's any news really kind of to talk about. What do you think?
Good to me.
Sounds good. All right.
In the main event of that Bellator, we've got Marcelo Gomes versus Daniel James. Both guys in the heavyweight division, obviously, but Marcelo Gomes is kind of that hybrid, a little bit bigger, probably going to come in somewhere in the 250-pound mark, 248, 250 pounds. Daniel James is a monster. We're talking about that old-time big heavyweight, a guy that loses weight to make that 265-pound limit. He's going to come in somewhere at 266, 265.8, 0.9, and he's going to end up at 285 by the time that fight starts. But he is a big man. You have stood next to him. You've been in the room with him. You've shaken his hand. He is not a small individual, and he's got skill.
Yeah, if we were to take a look at, I think he's what, 6'7", 6'7", 6'7", somewhere in there. But he is a mountain of a man. 6'5", he says 6'5". I don't know. I think he's pushing higher than that.
He had big shoes then.
Yeah, but I didn't know he was 41 years old.
Oh yeah.
Oh wow.
But again,
he's been fight.
But again,
heavyweights can
41 at heavyweight.
Yeah, 41 at heavyweight. I mean, like, they could do it longer. Yeah. There's not a lot of threats in, in having to face well-rounded fighters in the heavyweight division. You're either a really good striker or you're a really good wrestler, but you're not really both of them. That's what I think makes guys like John Jones so spectacular. Guys like Cain Velasquez that were so good. But even Cain lacked the submission area department, Sure. DC the same thing. DC could wrestle the shit out of people and he could strike. But submission game was also a little bit weak. I mean, a lot of the guys in the heavyweight division just lack that submission game. It's very rare do you find a really top-level submission guy. Someone like Verdum, who later on had to develop his striking. Nogueira, both the Nogueira brothers, fantastic jiu-jitsu practitioners, but their striking didn't come along until later on in the game. You know, they started training, I think it was with the Brazilian boxing team or Brazilian national team in boxing or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Rogerio was the one that he really got into the stand-up game and was part of the Brazilian boxing team and everything.
Yeah.
He loved it. He just basically turned from a grappler into a striker the whole time. You know, somewhere in his career, I can't say exactly what fight it was, but yeah, he just basically, I'll just throw the grappling to the side for the most part, and we're going to stand and trade. But again, that was kind of the downfall too, because he got knocked out by some guys like Anthony Rumble Johnson. You know, you can only strike so much, and you're going to get touched.
Yeah. No, this is true. But then you look at guys like Daniel James, right? He's the size. He's not a slow guy either. He's got a little bit of pop on him, some speed on him. And it's actually, I mean, after watching his fight with Tyrell Fortune, he's got a little bit of a gas tank for being so big. I was surprised for him. I was expecting him to really, after the 2.5, 3 minute mark, for him to be done. And he still had it. He still had a lot of that left in the tank. And his ability to stuff takedowns, his ability to get, and when he gets on top, he does work. And everything he does seems like has a big impact on you. Like, oh man, if I drop my forearm on you, you're gonna really feel it. Here I am, 295, 285, 295, putting my weight on. Like, it's just insane to me to think that a guy that big can move that well. And he was able to stuff Tyrell Fortune's takedowns. Now, I don't know how Marcelo Gomes is gonna get this fight to the ground.
Boy,
I wouldn't suggest keeping it on the feet too long though either. You know, I think the way that Marcelo Gomes normally fights is he'll press you to the fence, he'll dirty box you, grind on you a little bit, then he'll make some space, try to land some shots, try to get the takedown and control the top position. That's from what I've seen of him. I mean, are you thinking that there's any other way for him to win this fight outside of just trying to press Daniel James to the fence? And he's got to be on top. He cannot afford to be on bottom.
No, he cannot be on the bottom. He's in a quandary, if you're going to ask me, as far as range-wise. He's going to have problems on the outside. Daniel James has got length on him, and he uses it fairly well. He's going to have problems in boxing range. He's going to have problems in the clinch. James is good in the clinch. He's nasty as far as the knees and the elbows he throws. So Marcelo he's got to shoot in and create the situation where he's in that moment of making James not become offensive. He's got to be defensive and stopping this takedown right now. But Daniel James got pretty good wrestling defense. The guy that he's trained with most of the time that's taught him his wrestling is Curtis Blades. You know, both guys from Chicago area. They hang out together. They train together. And Curtis Blades has done a good job with him as far as that defensive wrestling. And if he gets on top, you're in trouble. Yeah. I have not seen anyone, and I've watched at least 10 of his fights. I've not seen one person get up when he's on top unless the bell rang. So not an easy position to be in. You know, not that Gomes can't win it. He can definitely win this, but he's got to be in the top position, like you're saying. I don't think from the bottom, it's possible he could catch an armbar. I don't think he's going to be able to catch him in a triangle or something like that. But I'll tell you what, he's Daniel James, for 41 years of age, you know, watching him in all his fights in ACA, ACB, you know, he's tough. He can fight. The dude is the real deal. And he's just becoming more confident with every fight because most of his losses were long ago. And the confidence is now there. He knows he can stop the takedown. He knows that if I get in the top position, I can damage you. I can make you pay. And he gets there, and man, he does it. So, yeah, I was very impressed when he fought Tyrell Fortune. I know he had the crowd behind him, which now this time he will not have that crowd behind him. That's right, and he'll be fighting in Temecula, California, on the other side of the country. And so, him coming being from the Chicago area, he used to be the bodyguard for the famous rapper Twista. And, you know, he's a big guy, man. And you know, it's funny, when we interviewed him, I was really surprised. He was so outgoing, so friendly, super nice. Yep. All of those things didn't really seem to have a chip on his shoulder. He had a lot of confidence. And it came out in that cage. But I wonder how he's going to react now, because look, you come back, I mean, I believe his pro debut
was in Bellator, right?
It was.
And then he never fought again. He didn't fight again in Bellator until his last fight with Tyrell Fortune.
Yeah.
And then he gets the win. He gets the win over Tyrell Fortune. I mean, after fighting an ACA or ACB?
It was both. It started off at
ACB,
but it's ACA.
Got it. So I mean, he had some fights over there. He's been around fighting some tough guys.
Yes,
And then he comes back and he fights Tyrell Fortune, I think, was ranked number 5 or number 6 at the time, and he stops him, gets a stop against Tyrell. Now he goes from being like basically the opening fight on the main card, in Chicago in his hometown. The crowd was nuts for him. By the way, he's considered to be like I would say he's probably like a celebrity over there, which is crazy because the way the crowd erupted, how many people bought tickets, to come watch him fight. He's got a big name over there in the Chicago area, which is kind of surprising to me that we didn't put him back into Chicago. But I get it. And then they had a main event here in Temecula. We're gonna see. But I think Marcelo Gomes got his hands full.
He does.
He's gonna have his hands full. I mean, he is a big guy. Marcelo Gomes, though, he is someone that he makes the fight grimy, but finds ways to win, man. He makes the fight grimy, but finds ways to win. But pull up Marcelo Gomes. I believe out of his 10 wins, they're all finishes.
Yeah.
I believe out of his...
I think you're right.
Yeah, I don't...
Zero decisions, I think. All submissions.
Yeah, 0
or
decisions.
TKOs.
Yep. Yeah. So he's lost one time by KO. Then he's also got his wins, 7 wins by KO. I would have thought that he would have had more submissions, John. He's got 3 submissions by for wins, but I would have thought he would have had more submissions, to be honest, because he's pretty damn good on the ground.
Yeah,
he's got good control,
which is unusual.
We're gonna see, man. We're gonna see. I hope he doesn't expect to stand and trade, because you get one of those clubbing forearms across the head, man, we may be fucking picking your head up like a jack-o'-lantern. Just walking you around. But I'm excited to see this fight. It is. And I want to know how Daniel James is going to react to his crowd not being there, and then also going from, you fought the number 5 guy or number 6 guy in Tyrell Fortune, and now you're main eventing that quick. Quick.
That's pressure.
That's a lot of pressure. Next.
Kat Zingano taking on Lee McCourt from Ireland. This is for what they're saying is the shot or the ability to get a shot at the featherweight title with Chris Cyborg. I don't know if that is a bonus or if it's a gift or if it's something anybody should really want. But
yeah,
it's Kat has been here. It's funny because Kat's been in Bellator for a couple of years now, but hasn't really had that many fights. There's been a couple of things that have happened and stuff. But she always puts on a good show. She's a hell of a wrestler. Her wrestling is outstanding. Her top position is really good. She's got good submissions. Lee McCourt, judo, has good submissions, has won a lot of her fights by submission, has good positioning on the ground. This is basically who's going to be in the top position.
Yeah. If I'm going to weigh out the two things, the wrestling to me is going to beat the judo.
I agree.
Almost every single time. But when I look at what each of them has to offer once you hit the ground, Leah McCourt's got more of the submission threat, but she tends to take big shots from the bottom position, and she can be finished there. And as she gets tired, her legs get heavier, and her arm bars and triangles become less effective, as most fighters do. Yeah. Kat is someone who's been known to do things, though, to make it an exciting fight that puts her in jeopardizing positions. Like, she tried to throw one of her last opponents, and she threw her right into mount. She was on the bottom the rest of the round, getting beat up, and she had no escape.
Yeah, like
she was struggling to get out from the mount position. If Leah McCourt gets on that top mount position, she's going to do work. Yeah. And the submission threat is there. And when I look at Kat, though, she's a long way removed from the one that beat Amanda Nunes and
yes,
and Misha, right? Was it Misha?
Yep, beat Misha.
Amanda Nunes, I think, and Misha Tate. She's years removed from that Kat Zingano. Now, it doesn't mean that she doesn't still have it in the pocket. She still has a little bit of that grit. I think a lot of that grit.
Oh, she got a lot of that grit.
She's just not as active And when you're not as active,
that's
it makes
the whole thing.
Every fight makes me guess. Like, okay, which one are we going to see today? Are we going to see one that comes out here and just gets a fucking ravaging KO or a knockdown, drag out, ground and pound finish? Like, or are we going to see one that just barely skirts by the skin of her teeth? You know, so I get nervous when I watch her because I like her a lot. She's an awesome person. She's been through a lot in her life, but she's an awesome person, and she's been doing great things in Bellator, but she's just not active enough for people to remember that she's with us. Now, Leah McCord, on the other hand, go ahead.
Pull up Kat's record for us, Dave.
But Leah McCord, on the other hand, she's been active. She's been busy. You know, I mean, her loss to Sinead Kavanaugh, and then who else did she lose to all the way down there at the end? Kat, let's see what Kat is. Okay, so Kat has lost to Megan Anderson.
But you got to look at that fight. That's really not a loss. It was a loss, but that was the one where the Megan threw a kick and the toenail caught her in the eye. You know, and so it's that like, sucks. Yes, it's a loss, but no, you didn't lose that. So, I mean, you can take a look, and she had that long win streak like you were talking about, and it's really, and this is the whole point when you're looking at it. She beat Amanda Nunes in 2014. Okay, Josh, that's close to 10 years ago now.
Yeah, she
lost to Ronda Rousey in 2015, but she's only had since that 7 fights. Yeah, so it's like a fight a year, and that's what we're talking about here. We always talk about repetitions help you. The more repetitions you get, as long as you're not being damaged, the better you become, the more confident you become, and it's just things just flow better for you. But when you don't have that repetition and there's these long gaps between your fights, it is always the question of, well, which fighter is going to show up? Is it the same fighter, or is it going to be different? Because she is now, 40 years of age. So it's getting to that, that tipping point.
Yeah, that's true. We can't keep dangling the carrot, though, that she's going to fight Cyborg if she wins this fight. She's going to have to fight her. But I think on the other side, though, too. No, she doesn't have to. But we also,
and that's, I totally understand what you're saying. Look, if what else are you going to do? Is it you want to fight, Sarah McMahon, or what is it? You just don't want to fight Cyborg, and she's had some issues, talking about things from the past and things like that. And if that's the way she feels, that's the way she feels. But you got to kind of figure there's, why are you doing this? Okay, you're getting paid. That's one good reason. But do you not want to be the champ?
Yeah. Hit your mic.
Mine's good.
It's no, I don't know. I guess we're gonna find out, though. I mean, Leah McCourt has definitely got. She's on a stride of. She's in a rhythm right now of staying competitive, staying active, and you can physically see it in her body too. She looks like she is. I don't want to say matured.
No, she looks like she changed camps, and I thought they got her in great shape in the last fight.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, I mean, we're going to actually find out because Kat's another thing Kat has, not just one thing, but Kat has a pretty damn good gas tank.
She's got a very good gas tank.
Utilizes her wrestling. She's got, submission defense from the top is decent, is good. And she's got some good ground and pound. She's got to be a little bit busier on top against Leah. But I think Kat can stand with her also. She can afford to stand with her a little bit,
Well, I think she can.
Next fight.
John Salter against Aaron Jeffrey. John Salter 18-6, Aaron Jeffrey 13-3. My eyes are getting like yours.
Yeah, the thing with John Salter is that he's kind of been put right now into that gatekeeper status. It's unfortunate because he's so damn good. He is getting older, but people have started figuring out his game.
Yes.
They started realizing that he's just wrestle heavy with good submissions, but he's super wrestle heavy. He reminds me a lot of like a John Fitch, someone that will chase takedowns on his hands and knees, and once he does get you down, you're stuck, man. They're masters at keeping you down.
He's just better off his back than John Fitch.
Yeah, he is. Absolutely. Yep. But John never really spent a lot of time on his back.
No.
That's
They have different styles. Salter
Yeah.
will willingly go to his back at times. Fitch never wanted to go to his back.
No, he would always chase up, come up on the single or the double. Yeah. Aaron Jeffrey though, good stand up, good all the way around fighter, man. But he's a dog. He's somebody that the haircut does it for me though.
Dude,
Definitely
the mullet.
does.
He's
it
got
for
the
me.
mullet.
The mullet.
Dude.
He's
It's
got
like
the full on.
There's serious fucking power. It's like Samson's hair in the mullet.
Oh, this guy's gonna be. I think it's gonna be a good fight, but he's gonna have to sprawl and brawl. Never take advantage of the opportunity to strike when you should be focusing more on defending the takedown. When John Salter is on your leg, focus on getting out and away.
Focus on defending.
Making him tired. Yep, and then as you're making space, make him pay from the distance. That's the biggest thing.
True.
Is when you start thinking that you're out and away and you're not out and away, and you start trying to strike. Kind of how Connor did it with Habib. He was defending the single leg dump real well.
Fantastic.
And he was getting to the crotch and it was lifting and doing all this stuff, and then he tried to strike 1 or 2 strikes, and he lost the position and got taken down. The rest of the round was history.
That's right.
Next fight.
Jaleel Willis against Rustam Kabalov, who we have not seen in a while. He's been signed with Bellator for quite a while.
Long time.
This guy is was in the UFC, had a great run in the UFC, kind of went away, and now he's back. He's fighting the real Jaleel Willis. Jaleel, coming out of Memphis, Tennessee, has been fighting. His last fight, he looked beautiful. It was against one of your friends, Kyle Crutchmer from AKA.
Yep.
He just dominated the fight.
Yeah, Kyle just couldn't get in. He couldn't even sniff a takedown, which really shocked me. I was expecting, Kyle to get in, at least get 1 or 2 takedowns, and make Jaleel work to get up to his feet, but he wasn't able to get him down. But Jaleel is also down at Killcliff now.
Yep.
And so now that he's down at Killcliff, he's been able to get in the work with the top level jiu-jitsu guys, top level wrestlers. He's been out there working with Logan Storley and with Kamaru Usman and Craig Jones and all those guys, man. So he's got a plethora of guys that can wrestle and they can chase submissions. Yep. And so I think we saw it in that fight. His confidence level was so high in that fight. I was like, holy shit. And so he's going to be hard to beat. I think I'm looking forward to seeing what he does in the welterweight division. Plus, there was a time there where he was choosing between 55 and 70.
Yes.
But that last fight with Kyle, you could tell he just gave up on 55. He's like,
which he should have.
His legs and ass, and his back and everything. He was enormous. I'm like, how'd you make 70? It was almost like he hit puberty and fucking grew into his body. I was like, what the hell? Where did this kid come from? He's enormous. Now, Rustam, I've heard nothing but good things about him.
Record.
And he was actually supposed to be they were trying to match me up against him instead of Anthony Pettis after Anthony Pettis had pulled out of the title fight I was supposed to have for the UFC. Yeah. And I was like, I never heard of this guy. And then it just so happened I was training with Habib in Islam at the time. And we had kind of like, just through conversation, been like, yeah, they want me to fight. And they're like, oh. And he was, I guess him and Islam were like competitors against each other for Sambo. And so they both, they're telling me how good he was. And I was like, okay, I don't need to know this anymore. I need to know, that was enough. That's all I needed to hear, how good he was. And then that was it. I was like, yeah, I'll pass. And then I ended up getting the Benson fight, which worked out better. But
yeah,
overall, he's tough.
The real question is he hasn't fought since 2019. It's a long layoff.
Why?
Yeah, it's a good question, but it's been quite a while since
why
he's actually.
Why would the UFC let him go off of a win? Also,
I can't tell you. It's one of those. I think he was fighting fairly regularly, but it was almost like once or twice a year. Throughout a lot of it, he fought a lot in 2016. But then nothing. 1 in 2017, 1 in 2018. So you look and you go, wow. I don't know what happened, but there had to be some kind of thing where they just weren't happy with, the fights he was taking or what he was doing. So, but it's going to be interesting because it's been a while.
Interesting. I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing him fight in the Bellator cage.
Yeah,
I've heard nothing but good things about him. I remember watching his fight with, I think, George Masvidal. And scroll on down. I think he's before the Martins fight. Down.
Did he fight George?
Down. I think he did. Yep. Keep going. Do you see George Masvidal? Oh, there he is, right there. George Masvidal is right there.
Yeah.
There we go. Did you see it? Where is he? I just saw
Where
it.
do you see George Masvidal?
He's on there.
Really?
Keep
Show him
going.
to me.
Yeah, he's on there. He's on there.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah, right there.
There is a...
Where? Ruslan?
Right there. Okay,
George
George Masvidal.
Yes, he's got to win against
win.
Masvidal.
He's got to win over George. Oh, okay.
Because, see, he went and he... Oh. See, that's because I did the fight.
Wow, there goes John's still trap of a memory, you guys.
There you go, dude. I swear to God, I don't remember that fight at all. But the one I remember is Vince Pichel, because Vince fought out of my gym. And he, we got him on The Ultimate Fighter. He did well on The Ultimate Fighter. It was the one where they did it was all live fights. They were there for 13 weeks or something like that. It was crazy how long they were there. And when he got out of there, because it was Dominic Cruz and Uriah Faber were the coaches. And so then he gets out, and all of a sudden he's going to go down and train with Dominic. Says, go. See you later. Right? And he comes back, and I said, have they given you a name of who you're fighting? He goes, yeah, I'm fighting a guy named Kamalov. I go, Ruslan Kamalov? Right? And he goes, yeah. He says, I saw some video. He was throwing ice on somebody. He said, I'm going to fuck him up. I went, have you seen him wrestle?
Yeah.
He goes, no fucking problem. I went, okay. He got knocked out with suplexes, too.
Jesus.
I was like, yep, no problem.
Jeez.
It happens. Yeah, it's called growing up.
Oh,
But
next fight.
Sullivan Colley, who's done just fantastic in the Bellator cage, coming out of being a training partner of the champion in Ryan Bader, going up against a guy. I'm really surprised about this fight. I'm surprised they put this fight together. Luke Trainer, coming off of, he had his first loss, came back with a very nice win. Luke Trainer out of England, really good story, great background, great family, love his father. They do a lot with foster kids and taking care of them and stuff, but that's really an interesting matchup in the light heavyweight division.
Yeah, Luke's going to have his hands full.
Yep.
I think that the size, the aggressiveness of
Luke's got the size.
Height-wise, not like thickness-wise, though. Height-wise, not thickness-wise. So that muscle, that density, that bone density, and all that stuff.
I'll give you. I think strength is on Sullivan Colley. I think technique is kind of on Sullivan Colley.
The wrestling's on Sullivan Colley.
Yes.
The top position
Pressure.
to do damage will be Sullivan Colley.
I agree.
And I think from Luke's one loss was from him taking big shots from the bottom. And if I recall in that fight, man, he took a lot of damage in that fight. And Sullivan Colley he's pretty good at defending submissions, but he's got heavy hips and he's good at being from the top.
Take a look at Sullivan's record.
Yeah,
Look at how long his fights have lasted.
Yeah,
and they've been giving him better competition all the time.
Yep.
But man, he is. Other than the porn stash, you can't say anything bad about it.
I love it.
I make fun of him about the porn stash. But take a look at, okay, I'm sorry. Go right there. First round. Never been in the second round.
Yeah,
and he can stand up and fight, and he can wrestle.
No, he can. Yep, it's gonna be good. Luke Trainer's good. He's good off his back. He's good on the feet a little bit. He's got a good push kick. He's well rounded. I just think the overall, like in terms of the bone density, the thickness, the strength, I think that if Sullivan Colley plays it smart, he should be able to get the win. But Trainer's crafty. He's crafty on the ground. He's got that long limbs.
He's got a very good submission game.
Mm-hmm, very good.
Yeah. So
next.
All right, we got Adam Piccolotti coming back against Mandel Rat Garbage Nalo. I love that name. Who goes with the nickname Rat Garbage?
Oh, man.
But the guy can fight, man.
It reminds me of Ratatouille. The movie Ratatouille. I don't know why, but he's good, man. Mandel Lalo can fight. He's good. He's the Sure Dog picture says it all. He's got a little twisted mustache.
Hold on. You want to talk about a guy that's got it going? His wife is a doctor up in Canada.
Yep.
He goes, yep. She's the worker. I'm the guy that just goes and works out and fights. He goes, I got it made. I go, well, keep it going, dude. That's awesome. That'll be interesting if it hits the ground. because we know that how good Adam Piccolotti is there, but Nalo's not bad. And in the stand-up, he's got a lot of length on Adam. Adam's going to want to close that distance.
Yeah, I think Adam's going to have a hard time on the feet with him.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Adam's been working with Fitzgibbons. Up at CSA? Yeah, CSA, I think it is. He's been working with them up there. So, they got some good kickboxers there and stuff. The length is going to give him a little bit of a problem. I think the speed might give him a little bit of a problem, too. And but on the ground, I think I give the advantage a little bit to Adam, but not by much, like you were saying, John. Not by much.
Yep.
Next,
Archie Colgan, fantastic, getting better all the time. Wrestling is fantastic against Justin Montalvo. We're talking 6-0 versus 5-0. It'll be a very good matchup, but Archie Colgan's wrestling and stand-up hard to beat right now. That dude's he's getting better with every fight.
He believes in himself.
Yes, sir.
And the
one that I really want to talk about.
Yes.
Go ahead. I'll let you.
I love this kid, man. I'm so glad that he's back. I've been chirping in his ear for the last 2.5 years, 3 years, going, "Hey, man, when you coming back?
Yep.
He just finally he's like, you know what? I'm gonna make a comeback. He hit me up and said, "Hey, I've been in the gym, got my shit going on. I'm all right." He's like, and I'm getting the itch and I feel it, and I think I'm like, "Hey, I'm here, man. I can't wait to see Joey Davis. Black guys, Joey Davis, man. This kid is a phenomenal wrestler. He's got great stand-up. I mean, he's just
one of only 3 NC2A wrestlers to go out through his career with no losses.
No losses. Just insane. He's a phenomenal person as well. Very quiet.
Yep.
Very humble.
Yep.
Lets his dad do all his talking for him.
And his dad'll do it too.
His dad'll do it.
I love him.
You know, and if his dad doesn't do it, then his coaches will. It's like, I mean, you talk to AJ McKee about him, you talk to Antonio McKee about him, and they love him, man. They love him like a brother. They're like his. He's just amazing.
Look at that. There's no doubt that is AJ's brother from another mother. So those guys are tight. Lucas Brennan taking on Josh San Diego will be an interesting fight. Both guys very good on the ground, but Lucas Brennan is something special on the ground based upon his dad, Chris Brennan, who we have known forever. And look forward to seeing that matchup.
Josh got good stand-up, though.
He does.
And so if he can force the fight on the feet, he's going to put Lucas in a very uncomfortable position. I've trained with Josh. Josh used to be one of my
Josh is surprising at 145 pounds because he's long.
Yeah, he is long. Yep. I used to use Josh as a sparring partner from time to time. And he was kind of a little frustrating to deal with. Like a little gnat sometimes. You couldn't, you wanted to just really, really beat him down hard, but you also knew he was your sparring partner. And you're just like, yeah, man. But he was such a nice kid, too. Great fighter. So him and Lucas should have a good fight. I believe so.
Should be.
Next.
Should be very good. Lance Gibson Jr., undefeated at 7-0, taking on Vladimir Tokov, whose brother just lost in a championship matchup to Johnny Eblin in the middleweights. Tokov's brother being Anatoly, but Tokov is good. He's good everywhere. He's got good wrestling, good stand-up, good submission game. Lance Gibson Jr., good wrestling, great submission game, good stand-up. That's a hell of a matchup.
Physically strong Lance Gibson is, but I think the more well-rounded fighter in terms of tighter with the technique will be Tokov.
Really?
I think Lance, because when I look at what Lance, remember his fight, he got dropped in Hawaii. I think it was Hawaii.
Yeah, he got hit with a shot.
Dropped, and he had to come back. He was able to pull it out of his ass.
But he did,
and I get it. But there was moments in that fight where, and I've said this before, if you let someone linger around, you're really jeopardizing yourself. And he has a tendency to let fighters linger.
This is true.
Because he's so good at hitting you with a good hard shot and kind of admiring his work. Hitting you with a good hard shot, admiring, because he's got power. He's got power. You can see he's physically strong. You can tell he's physically strong by the way he looks. I mean, like, see when he locked in the triangle in the Hawaii show, the way he was able to, as soon as he got his legs up around the arm and the neck, it was like poof, locked in, and he would just squeeze tight. And it was on tight and it was on quick. I look at Tokov is a little bit more of that. He'll get in there and be real grimy. I think Lance can pull it off. I'm not saying that he can't. I'm just saying he can't afford to let this kid linger around like he has been with his past opponents. This is a big step up for Lance Gibson in his competition.
Going to be tough for him to get rid of Tokov.
Yep, it is.
I think one of the ones we need to talk about is Mike Hamill against Nick Brown. That should be an outstanding matchup. I know I'm skipping a couple, but Hamill is fun to watch. The guy brings it every time. I've never seen him in a bad fight. He is willing to, trade with anybody. He's got good wrestling. Nick Brown has got, they call him NyQuil because he puts everyone to sleep. He's got a 13-2 record. The guy's submission game is outstanding. That's a great matchup.
I'm going to give a little love to my boy Bryce Meredith, who wrestled out of the University of Wyoming. He's making his Bellator debut on this card. He's 3-0. He fights out of the lab with Benson Henderson. Good kid, man. Really good kid. And I feel like he's got a bright future. He just I wouldn't say he didn't lose his way. He was just trying to figure out his path to get to a bigger promotion as fast as possible. He finally found his way, and he got signed to Bellator. So I'm happy for him. Just going to have to do what he does, man. Get out there, wrestle, get the takedowns, dominate the top position, chase the submissions, and try to get some ground and pound. And I'm looking forward to seeing him grow because he's a gamer. This kid can wrestle, man. He is smooth. He is slick. He can scramble. He's a fantastic, fantastic wrestler. So I'm looking forward to seeing where he comes. And then Benson's wife, Maria, good luck to her. She's fighting a girl that's 0-0, but she's coming into Bellator. Also, she's finally signed a contract with Bellator. So looking forward to seeing her. And then, of course, Connery Gracie coming in, and he'll be opening the card against Dave Pacheco. So it should be a good fight.
Yep.
All right. Well, that's going to wrap up our Bellator talk. Let's move into Gamebred. Let's go. But before we go to Gamebred, let's go to OnlyFans.com/weighing in. And like I've said, I can't even continue to tell you how many times that I've said this. John will not show you his butthole no matter how much you pay him. Okay? So we're going to go ahead and just stop it right there.
No matter how tan
John's not going to do it. But John may not do it, but Podcast Dave might.
Not right now. You don't want to see this mess.
You don't want to see that mess right now. You got some food poisoning going on. You never know what's coming out of that thing. So, oh my goodness. But hey, OnlyFans.com/weighing in. Look, we're doing some things over there. We're taking our fan questions from OnlyFans. And, it's a collaboration that we've decided to work with on them to try to get more athletes, more MMA athletes, more combat sports athletes over onto their platform to show techniques for them to be able to make money on the off season when they're not training for their fights or when they have new techniques that they'd like to share with their fans, or their fans can reach out to them and say, hey, this is what I got caught in training. Can you help me with this? This is what's been working for me. How can I go ahead and build on this? Those are all things that fans really would like to get in close contact with their fighters or their athletes to say, hey, can I pick your brain for a split second? So join us over at OnlyFans.com/weighing in. All right, let's go right into the Gamebred situation. Man, John, I'm pretty pumped for this card.
Are you pumped for this card?
I am.
I'm on the fence wavering, and it's not that it's just going back to this whole goddamn thing of, we're going to have a boxing match between a real boxer and an MMA guy. What the hell? It's every time, dude. Because, I look at this. I'm okay with the Aldo versus Jeremy Stevens. I think that's great. Let them both box each other. Perfect. Belfort against Souza. Okay. Obviously, I think, Vitor is a little bit older, but he's got an advantage over Jacare. In the Jacare was never a true stand-up guy. He was, always... he had to work on his game because, people fought very hard to keep him going to the ground with him for obvious reasons. But the main event, Roy Jones Jr., 66-9 in his professional career, going against Anthony Pettis as a boxer, 0-0. But obviously we know that Anthony Pettis can fight. He's an outstanding mixed martial artist. Yeah. But there's a huge difference between mixed martial arts and boxing. And when you're limited to just those two tools, you are playing in that man's world. And I don't care if he's older. You're going to have problems.
Can I ask you a question? How does things like this get passed in the commission?
I look at it and they end up going, well, Anthony Pettis is a professional fighter. Yeah, it's MMA, but, okay. And I look and I go, no, sorry. It's your job to say, look, you don't have any boxing experience. You're not a boxer. I wouldn't put Roy Jones Jr. up against you in an MMA match because he doesn't have MMA experience. But you know, I do understand there's money involved, and Anthony wants to make that money, and I understand why. And the commission looks at it and says, well, if he wants to do it, okay, we'll do it. And it is, you know, look, it's in his backyard. It's in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So he's the one that's, you know, going to bring a lot of the butts to put in the seats. So I understand what they're doing, but man, I just look at it and it's like, I don't want to see him get beat up.
I mean, man, you just took all the fun out of this card.
I'm sorry.
I was all excited to watch it, and then you went off and said all that. No,
is it not the truth?
You know,
if I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong.
I can't say you're wrong. Only because we living in the past though of how good Roy Jones was.
Okay, and Roy Jones is nowhere near what he used to be, but he was good enough to go 8 rounds with Tyson too.
Yeah,
at only a year and a half, 2 years ago. 2 years ago. And
okay,
you can't tell me that Anthony Pettis can hit like Tyson.
No,
it's just, you know.
Okay, but then like I guess we could say the same thing though. We were talking. Sorry, excuse me. We were talking about Anderson Silva, and then he goes and fights Jake Paul, who has a couple fights. He's only got a couple fights, 5 fights.
But that's
he was able
different.
He was able to sit Anderson down. Why is it
But
different,
I'm okay with seeing that. I'm
Anderson
okay with
Silva
that
can
one.
fight.
Hold on. They're boxing, and Jake Paul is a boxer. That's his what he does. That's his background, if you want to call it a background. And Anderson is an MMA guy, but Jake Paul only has a couple of fights. Roy Jones Jr. has been doing this since he was a kid.
Yeah,
he was, you know, an Olympic silver medalist because he got, you know, ripped off, but he should have been an Olympic gold medalist. He's freaking been an unbelievable. He is one of the best pound for pound boxers to ever lace up a pair of boxing gloves. And Anthony's never boxed. I don't care what he does in sparring in the gym. He's never boxed.
I can see where you're going with it. But then the Jose Aldo and Jeremy Stevens, good fight.
I'm okay with that.
Good fight. I'm looking
okay
forward
with
to that one.
That's great. Yeah.
Is this bare knuckle? Or this is
No.
boxing. This is boxing.
Boxing.
Okay.
Boxing.
I wasn't sure if they were going bare knuckle on this because, you know, I don't know, man. George did the backyard brawl stuff, so you never know.
He did
you know,
do the backyard.
I'm surprised that they didn't do Vitor Belfort versus Roy Jones.
So was I. But I
Maybe
think it
because it's
was
Milwaukee.
the whole Milwaukee thing, yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, I'm looking forward to the card. I mean, I probably won't watch the whole card, obviously, but I mean, I'll probably go all the way up to the Vitor Belfort fights.
Yeah.
I'll see
I'll
that.
watch Pro
I mean, I want to know how.
and Mazzani, Gina Mazzani. I'll watch that. You know, that's okay.
All right. Well, I'm going to support it because I'm a big fan of George Masvidal, man. And I like Anthony Pettis. Anthony and I actually just kind of reached out to each other recently and said some nice things about each other, which was kind of nice because for a while there, I wouldn't say we had beef, but because of the title fight being dropped off, and I had my theories on why it was that way because I was old, and stuff. So no, we just didn't really talk about it a whole lot. But I mean, there was a lot of trash talk going into that fight, and I remember saying to him that, bro, you can't stop my takedowns, and you're not going to stop my submission game, and so. I always wondered, but anyways, this is a good fight. I'm looking forward to this weekend. I'm reminiscing, you guys. All right, that's a good fight. That's on Saturday night, correct?
That is on Saturday night.
Pay-per-view?
I think it is.
Yeah,
I think it is.
It's on UFC Fight Pass.
Oh, UFC
it's on
Fight
UFC
Pass.
Fight Pass, so it's not a pay-per-view, but you have to pay for the UFC Fight Pass.
You're paying for the app, yeah. It's not pay-per-view, but you're paying per.
How much is their UFC? I don't have it, so how much is it?
I think it's $10.
It's like $100 for the year.
Jesus. It's like what? Ends up being what? Like $6 and something cents?
It's like $10 a month. Big deal.
That's a lot. That's a lot. All right, next. Dave, what else you got for us, buddy?
All right, we're going to hop into some fan questions here. So just so you guys know who are listening, audio and video platforms. We're prioritizing the OnlyFans questions, and then we'll go to YouTube and anywhere else we're pulling from once we've gone through the OnlyFans questions first. Sound good?
Yeah.
All right.
We did this all on short notice, so we'll normally be pulling most of our fan questions from OnlyFans, but we decided to do this last minute short notice, so we're gonna pull from other areas if we need to. Go ahead.
First
Dave.
question is from Nathan Bifford, who asks, who says, "Sup Punk and Big John, you too, Dave.
Sup.
I really appreciate you guys and the consistent high quality content. You're welcome. I wanted to ask, after UFC San Antonio, is now the time to make Cheeto versus O'Malley 2?
No.
Not based upon the UFC's style of matchmaking. You're going to see Cheeto Vera going against somebody like a Peter Yan or somebody coming off of a loss is the way that they normally are going to do it, because they want to get one of the guys back on track with a win, and they honestly don't care which one, but they want one of them to come up with a win. So I don't think you're going to see Cheeto getting a rematch with O'Malley until he has a win.
Who was the one that just lost in the weight class? We talked about this the other day, and we thought that'd be a great matchup. Good little UFC rankings in the bantamweight division.
Peter Yan just lost to Marab.
Yeah, I think it was the Peter Yan, wasn't it? What were we talking about? Peter Yan and him and Cheeto. That's a great fight. I think that's probably the fight to make. The two of them coming off their loss, they got to get one of their top 10 fighters a win, making sure that one of them stays in the rankings to still threaten. And I think that's a perfect matchup, because Peter's not going to really wrestle. He may threaten a takedown by catching your kicks to get on top and do some ground and pound like he did with Jose Aldo. But I mean, I think that he's very come forward, boxing centric, and he will trade blows. He'll throw blows to trade blows. The problem that I have with both those guys, they're both slow starters.
Yep, both of them.
So it needs to be a 5-round fight, or maybe not. Maybe it needs to be a 3-round fight. Maybe it needs to be a 3-round fight and be like, hey, you fucking knuckleheads,
get your ass
need to get your ass started. Yep. The conversation maybe needs to be, both of you guys are obviously two of the best in the world at this weight class, but you guys both start off slow. I need to remind you guys, it's a 3-round fight. What are you guys going to be packing all the way to the 10th ranking? You're not going to be probably in the top 10 anymore after a loss. Yeah. They're both coming off losses.
Yep.
So I think, and Peter's coming off 3 in a row.
Yeah.
That's not easy. He's still number 4. He's still number 4.
You know what's going on up here no matter what.
Oh,
no matter how much he believes he won or any of those things, when he looks at that column, he sees it, and it's starting to have an effect.
Oh yeah, because remember, his only loss was to Magomedov.
Yeah,
before when he got into the UFC, and he hadn't lost all the way until he got to Aljo in the DQ. That was his only loss, correct? Yeah, that was his only loss. Insane. And then now he just rattled off 3 in a row. 3 in a row, man. Actually 4, because you count the Aljo one also, right? Oh, no, that wasn't in a row. He had a win in the middle there. He won the interim title.
He beat Corey Sandhagen.
That Corey Sandhagen. Yeah, Corey impressed me, man. Corey impressed me a lot.
He didn't impress one judge.
Yeah, hindsight is 50-50, my guy.
This is different fans. This is Wowzers from OnlyFans, who asked a question, but just Wowzers regarding the referee and that weird submission thing from Fury FC. Go back and watch the weekend show. We talked about that in depth, so you can catch that from the weekend show. It's also on Wing and Extra as an extra clip, so you can check out there as well to get right to it. Hindsight's 50-50. Remember, guys, LOL is what he says. The question is, an extra question, if there's time, do you guys think Leon prefers rematch with Bilal, who's on a streak, or the money fight with Masvidal?
Always the money fight.
I think if he was able to pick anybody he wanted to fight, it would be Masvidal. Mm-hmm. He's got.
You have to, you got to think of all the guys, right? Let's say it's Bilal, it's Colby, and it's Leon, or not Leon, it's Masvidal. Out of those 3 guys, he's taking Masvidal.
Absolutely.
Because he knows he's going to stand. He knows that in that world of standing, in terms of the striking, he's faster than him.
His stand up is better.
He believes his stand up is better, and he can wrestle. And Leon Edwards can wrestle, and he's got great submissions. He's gotten so good at getting. Look at he took down Usman. Yep. You know, I mean, and he was threatening. He tried to threaten another one or two in the second fight. He can get those takedowns on George. Now, I'm not saying he needs to force him, but on the feet, he's faster than him. He's a little bit slicker than him. He's gonna mix in the kicks a little bit more. And he'll threaten the takedowns, and those takedowns will slow George down a little bit to make him think about defending the takedown more so than letting his hands go. And I think and plus it's the money fight. There's no other way around it. That's
and on top of it all, he wants to punch George in the mouth because George got one on him.
Yep.
George, he didn't expect George to fire on him. George fired on him, hit him, marked him up a little bit, and he wants to get his comeuppance. He wants that fight.
But so much has to happen for that to happen. He's got to beat Burns. That's a tough fight.
Masvidal does, yeah.
Yeah,
right.
Masvidal's got to beat Burns, and that's a tough fight.
Well,
and so then if Masvidal doesn't win that fight, I think you're going to see Colby end up fighting him next. You know, and then we'll see what happens. I think Bilal's going to end up having to fight. So somebody. I really believe it should have been Colby and Bilal to see who fights the winner. Yeah. See who fights for the title. All right, next.
All right, from OnlyFans, WVBJJ, do you guys ever think about doing longer podcasts? Maybe add David on screen full time for more banter.
Yeah, we try to minimize how much Dave gets on screen. It's rough, man. If you guys actually saw him up close and personal, you guys would realize what I'm talking about. He's got the nose that kind of hangs over the fence like Mr. Wilson on Home Improvement. Yeah. You know, the little hands, little tiny hands, kind of like mine. And, it's just so funny. But we actually, every once in a while, right, when we have a good pay-per-view with a good Bellator weekend, our shows will run about 2 hours, sometimes a little bit less, sometimes a little bit more, like 2 hours and 20 minutes. And when we can hit, I've noticed that those shows tend to do really well. The only thing is I can't base it whether it's because the show length and the banter and everything was so good, or if it because it was normally around a pay-per-view and a really good Bellator card that weekend, and if a one championship was in, or if there was a good bare knuckle boxing fight, or if it was a Jake Paul thing. I can't say it's one specific thing. And so those shows just tend to have more to talk about, which those that go on for a long time, and we generally do have fun with those weekends because it's fun to have. You have so much stuff to talk about, right, John?
That's it.
We'd love to bring you guys more of the other thing, like more shows, not necessarily longer shows, but more
shows. What?
Is the goal.
What are you talking
you guys
about?
Remember, John's almost 80, so it's like past his bedtime right now when we're anything past like 5:30, 6 o'clock at night PST time, bro. He's like, it's like 9 o'clock his time. He's like, man, I gotta get up in like 2 hours. All right,
we're doing more live streams and everything now, so
yes,
that's right.
Yeah, that'll help.
Yeah. We're trying to do them past John's bedtime so he doesn't talk forever.
You guys need to not even talk about my bedtime, man. I'm always the guy who's got to up late. Let's go. Give me the next.
Lalo PGTO. An octagon has 5 sides. Why do we have 3 refs? Would they ever have 5 refs, 1 on each side, since they don't always have the best view? Not quite.
I hate to tell you, an octagon's got 8 sides.
Jeez. Where did this? Is this a serious question?
Yeah, because there's 2 more from Lalo, which I'll give Lalo 1 more. But
Lalo,
that's a.
I don't know what you're looking at.
Yeah,
a pentagon has 5 sides.
Mm-hmm.
A hexagon has 6 sides, right? Strikeforce used to have a hexagon.
Yeah,
which was great because it was actually the full length. The way the angles on it were, you could actually see both corners. Where if you're in an octagon, you can't see the corners if you're a judge. So it does make a difference. But
wow, I didn't know that.
Yep. These are the things you learn.
I liked Strikeforce's cage a lot better than the UFC's cage. I don't know why. I couldn't tell you why. It could have been biased because I've fought so many times in it. Could have been biased.
Maybe.
You know what I did like though? I liked the vinyl canvas cover way more than the canvases that we use now. I hate the ones we use now.
Well, it wasn't vinyl. The Strikeforce was a hybrid mix of vinyl and canvas, which made it to where it didn't burn you near as much as the canvas. The canvas burns.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a grappler and you're on your knees or anything, man, you're gonna get you get strawberries that the days after the fight you pay for them. Yeah, it sucks.
That night when you get in the shower to rinse off
Oh, yeah,
all the
burn
blood
like
or
a
get the
suntbitch.
sweat off you, jeez, man, it's brutal.
Burning like a
So
son of a bitch. And it burns the next time
But
you take a shower. It's
But
like
I thought early, maybe it was early Strikeforce then when it was Elite XC joined with Strikeforce. Those were vinyl, I thought. It was like it was very slippery.
May have been in the very
They were
beginning,
slippery.
but then they switched to a hybrid, which I thought was the best because it made it to where blood didn't pool up the same, but it was still, you could be tacky and you could move, and it wasn't slippery and it didn't burn you. And so who's to say what's burnt? Vinyl sucks because as soon as vinyl has sweat or blood on it, it gets slippery as ice. It's horrible.
Yeah, I remember John Fitch fought in World Series of Fighting. It might have been. It might have already been the whatever it is now, PFL. No, I don't think it was.
Oh, that's when they were switching over.
Yeah, I think it was when they were switching over. We were in
Daytona or something like that.
Daytona. It was Daytona. We were in Daytona and it was raining outside.
Oh yeah.
And fuck, John was fighting in this fight and he got cracked right off the bat. And I was like, oh shit. He cut up real bad. And he ends up fighting his way back into this fight and getting a ninja choke with like probably 2 minutes left in the fucking fight. And John was that guy, man. I knew the fight wasn't over until the fucking last bell. Like John Fitch was that guy.
Oh yeah.
He was such a fucking grind.
That's what made John. Dude, take a look at John Fitch's fight against people. Talk about he got killed by St. Pierre and he lost, but he lost the first 3 rounds pretty bad.
Yeah,
and he was coming back in that fight. He was doing well in the 5th round of that fight. And you look and you go, what a tough son of a bitch after all the damage he took. So
the very first kick he threw, he got sat to his ass. He got dropped. Yeah. And we told him in the back, don't throw the lazy leg kick. Don't throw the lazy inside leg kick. Don't, because he had a habit of doing it in training. And he fucking went out there. The very first inside leg kick he threw was lazy, and fucking GSP sat him right to his ass. Boink. We're like, fuck.
Right away.
Next.
But you know what? Here's the funny part. You talk about the vinyl. One of the greatest places if you're going to go see a fight, be it boxing, because there's really not a whole lot of MMA there, but the Stub Hub used to be, now it's called something else, in Carson, California, where it used to be the Home Depot Center, and then I think
I was there when it was the Home Depot Center.
Yeah, and the Stub Hub was the tennis court, but they would use that in boxing all the time for HBO boxing. I saw some of the greatest fights there ever, and Showtime would do fights there, and they call it when what do they call it? Actually, I've lost the thought of it. But anyways, we actually did an MMA show there. It was RFA at the time, because then RFA and LFA kind of combined and did their thing. But Pedro Munoz, who now fights has been fighting the UFC forever, he fought Jeff Curran. And the night, that's near the ocean. And there was an inversion layer that came up over, and so inversion layer is just fog, and so it's all wet, and so
misty.
Oh my God! So that vinyl whatever it was, vinyl covering was like ice, and I felt I was the referee, and it was like horrible to be in there, and I was almost going to call the fight, but they ended up on the ground a lot, and they would you watch a guy, he's in guard, and he slips all over the fence based upon its and I had guys in there every round trying to dry it off and stuff. And you look and you go, and that's why you don't use vinyl. It was horrible. It would have been great if it was canvas.
I was there for one of my guys that I was his conditioning coach, Ricardo Perez, and he was a boxer. He fought there, and I was there. It was me and Ted Lucio. You know Ted Lucio, who's a cut guy now for the UFC. Yep. He was his coach, and I was his fitness coach and kind of like his training partner, and we were just good friends. And I went there, and he was the co-main event for Margarito versus Paul Williams. When Paul Williams beat Margarito. What a fucking fight.
Yep.
They fucking threw down. That was probably the hands down the best boxing match I ever saw in person. Now, I know there's a lot of other good boxing matches that I've seen on TV, right? Castillo versus Corrales. I mean, fucking, like, I can name a lot of top-level boxing matches I've seen on TV. But they actually sit there ringside. And to hear them pop their shots and just how you could hear how fast Paul Williams' jab was. Just whap, whap, whap. I was like, oh, man, it doesn't seem this fast on TV. It was fucking.
It's amazing.
He was snapping that thing out there.
God, I can't.
Damn, he was good.
You remember the guy they called the Siberian Rocky? His name was Ruslan. Fuck. He was just tough as hell. This guy would come forward. He fought Tim Bradley there. It ended up being the fight of the year. In boxing, I can't remember what year it was, but somewhere probably around 2015, 2014. Man, what a fight. And I'll never forget how hard they were hitting at times. And it was ungodly the amount of damage each guy took. And it was Siberian Rocky, and since I'm forgetting his freaking name, his trainer was Freddie Roach. And,
that was later on, though, right? Because Tim fought Pacquiao first.
No.
So it wasn't Freddie until later.
No, this is before Tim fought Pacquiao. Yeah, That's it right there. Boom. Bradley against. He doesn't even. But there he is, Siberian Rocky. It says Ruslan. Yeah.
Provodnikov.
Oh yeah, I do remember him.
Yeah.
Yes,
Ruslan
I do remember him.
That's it.
Yes.
I didn't want to say his name wrong, but man, what a fight! Unbelievable. And I was sitting, right at the scores table. And it was like, it was right there. And it was just unbelievable back and forth. And I could hear both corners. And Yoel was Tim Bradley's trainer out of the Inland Empire, who was with Cub Swanson a lot. And he was, just both, I could hear both corners saying, if you don't do better in this round, I'm stopping this fight. And I'm thinking, you guys aren't stopping this fight. It's fucking phenomenal. But they're telling their fighters. It was just unbelievable.
Look at that is right there.
Yeah.
What's that?
Look at that is right there. Look, he's right here. See the picture?
Oh, there you go. Boom. Yeah,
wow.
That's how when Bradley goes down. Yep.
Jeez.
What fight.
I thought Bradley fought Pacquiao twice, didn't he?
He fought Pacquiao. I don't know if it was twice.
He wouldn't have been with Freddie Roach then, right? Because Pacquiao was with Freddie Roach.
No, Bradley was not with Freddie Roach. Ruslan Provodnikov was.
Oh, gotcha. God, I thought you said Tim. I thought you said Tim.
No, Bradley was with.
Really? When did he go there?
It's
Go ahead.
God damn, what's Yoel's last name? I'm fucking losing it. I can't remember. But
yeah, Tim Bradley was one of those fighters. I was like, he's okay.
Boy.
Yeah, but then every time I watched him fight, I was like,
he's tough as hell.
He's good.
He's tough.
He's fast, explosive. Like he was good.
Nice job fighting that, Dave.
He didn't have that like it factor. You know what I mean? Like that really got people to fall in love with him, even though he seemed like a really, really good person.
He's really good to listen to as far as
commentary,
commentating on fights and everything.
Yep.
Does a really good job.
Yep, speaks really well. He does a lot better job enunciating his words than I do, and he's great, man. I actually really enjoy listening to him. Yeah, I agree. All right, what else you got for us, Dave?
All right, let's get this other one. This was a kind of more real one from Lalo. The term casuals gets thrown around a lot. Truth is, most are not hardcore MMA fans. They are hardcore UFC fans. How do you guys keep up with all the MMA world with different leagues and the up-and-comers?
Well, it's very hard. I mean, I got to be honest, the other day.
It's a lot.
Well, it's very hard. Like the other day, what were we talking about? I think we were talking about Faziev. And I was like, oh, what's next for him? And I said something stupid like, hey, why doesn't he fight RDA?
Yeah, because he already did.
I was like, and he didn't just fight him. He just fought him fucking like 2 fights ago. Yeah. But that's the thing. Like, we're not only just because we cover the Bellator fights, but we also cover we try to watch as much ONE FC as we can. We've got the UFC fights also, and UFC's got now like fucking 15, 16, 18 fights on a card. You get the early prelims, the regular prelims, and now 6 fights on the main card. It's a lot, you guys. I mean, look at Bellator this weekend. I think they've got a total of 18 fights?
16, 17, I think it's down.
Something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe you'll lose some at the weigh-ins. You might lose 1 or 2. Like the San Jose show, we ended up losing 4 fights. I mean, that's a lot. That's kind of unprecedented. Like it very rarely happens where you lose 4, sometimes 5 fights. But it's a lot of fights. So when you're trying to keep up with it, we just do the best we can. I love, and I use the word casual because I know when someone wants to, they just want to go onto our comment section just to say, hey, you know, he fought RDA fucking 2 fights ago. But then I also know that person goes, wait, didn't they just fight? Let me look it up real quick. That's what they do. And then they go onto our comment section and talk trash to us. So I've learned to, after taking years and years of Big John's advice and sometimes Podcast Dave's, but Podcast Dave actually, he goes in the comments a lot more than I do now these days. But it's you got to take it all with a grain of salt, man. You got to take it all with a grain of salt. Just understand that these guys, they all want to say that they know more than you, when in reality, I've forgot more than they will ever know. Anybody that's fucking commented in our comment section, I've forgot more than you guys will ever know. It's true. There's nothing I can say about it. John has probably forgot more than I know now. You know, and that's because he's been doing it for a lot longer. But I love the sport, and this is why we do it, right, John?
The sport is phenomenal, and it's, you know, when you take a look, I watch more fights than anybody I know because I watch not only what is happening, you know, on Saturday night, on Friday night, then I'm going back and I'm watching not just one fight. I'm watching as many fights as I can find on someone just so I get an idea of, all right, what are they good at? What have they improved in? All those things are just things that you can come up with. And it doesn't matter how much you do in research and everything, Josh, you're going to be wrong about something. It's like, I love when people are like, oh, you're wrong about that. No, okay. And you've never been wrong. You know, Of course you're going to be wrong. You know, you're going to say something that, you know, hey, you know, it ends up, no, I was wrong. You know, it's just, I'll say it when I am. It's okay.
Well, an example is like, I looked through the Bellator card, right? And I know every single person on that prelim because we cover Bellator. We know fighters. We've seen them from time to time. I've sat in the fighter meetings. But when I look at the UFC prelims, I'm like, man, I don't know really any of those guys. You know, I have to sit and watch and really pay attention to them because I don't. It's
funny because it's getting harder for me because I used to know them all.
Yeah.
You know, I would either watch them, I'd ref them, I would know every one of them. And now, God, no. It's been too long.
It's hard. You know, and as much as we want to follow along with as many as we can, it makes it easier for us to know the Bellator guys, especially on the prelims, because we've covered all their fights. I've seen them come up. I've seen their first fight in the UFC, or not UFC, it's first fight in Bellator. And sometimes I've seen their fights in other smaller promotions.
Yep.
Just through the fact that they fought when I was there, you know, with a friend of mine who was fighting or whatever it was. So it's not easy, man. Like, that's why it's hard for us to cover one, because the time change, that's one. But now that they're going to be doing their show here in the States, it should be a little bit easier. But then you have to develop some sort of way of following these fighters and seeing which ones really stand out to you, because which one do I feel like has the most potential.
And that's the problem, just because you think, oh man, I want to see that guy again. And I'm just being honest about one. There's many times where I'll see a fighter and I go, that dude's good. And then I don't see him, and I don't see him, and I don't see him. And it's like, why are they not fighting? Did he get hurt? You know? Yeah. And you don't know because he's from the other side of the planet and stuff, as far as where he lives. Yeah. Stuff, you don't get a lot of information on him.
But that's the thing is, and when I talk about, and I've said this before, not even just about Bellator, but the media, when a major fighter in another organization gets injured, you don't hear anything. It's crickets. Yeah. I mean, like, there's nothing's put out about them. Like, it's very rare. Like, there's only been a couple fighters in one that have gotten the coverage that really keeps me in tune with, like, where they're at and if they're going to be back soon. Like, Angela Lee went off, had a baby. Now she's back. Like, I heard about that. But other fighters in the organization, like, who's the Gosh, the Indian guy, the heavyweight champ. He trains with me. For one.
Bular?
Bular. Yeah. God. So I didn't know why he hadn't fought in a long time. He was having problems with one, I guess, apparently. Contract stuff or negotiation stuff or figuring out what was going on. And one doesn't have a lot of fights every year. Sure, they've started having a couple more here and there. Yeah. But they're not, like, they got onto Amazon Prime, which made it easier to view them, made it easier for us to follow them. But even still, that's difficult, man. So, Arjun. I was thinking, everyone keeps telling, I just call him Arjun. Yeah, I mean, like, he was having some issues. I hadn't seen him fight. I'm like, you're the heavyweight champ. How come you're not fighting more? But I think there must have been some contract stuff, looking for some more money. But there's a good chance that Francis Ngannou is going to end up over there. A really good chance. Huh? I mean, they're offering him a lot of money. We'll see. See what happens.
You gotta
and
figure...
I think this next one from... Sorry. Were you still going on that?
Yeah.
Nope. Go ahead, X.
I think Jay's question got answered on the live stream the other night about Nick Diaz and Mayhem Miller. Did we talk about that? I think we did.
Go ahead. Who would have won?
Jay asked Nick Diaz versus Mayhem Miller. Who would have won in their prime, and why did we never get that matchup during their feud? It would have.
We did answer it.
Yeah, but there wasn't a feud between Nick and Mayhem.
Yeah.
No. It was the whole scrap pack. Let's be honest.
Yeah. Because Mayhem wasn't going to fight at 170. He would have had to fight Jake Shields at 185. Yeah. So Nick was going to be the 70-pounder, and then Jake was the 85-pounder. And either way, I think Mayhem would have lost to both of them. I mean,
I agree.
Jake found ways to get you to the ground. And Jake found way. And I've seen Jake compete in jiu-jitsu tournaments against world-class black belts and make them look average. I'm like, wow. This guy, I've had black belts come to me, and they're just top level competitors, and go like, dude, he has such a basic game, and everybody I train,
totally
like, yeah, I can beat him, and they roll with them, and they're like, that wasn't the way I thought it was gonna go.
The only guy I ever saw in competition against Jake Shields in just a grappling competition that I thought, yep, he made Jake look bad, was Marcelo Garcia. It was the only time I ever saw Jake look.
Oh, Marcelo.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw that match or was there, but I was there for it. And
I didn't see that match.
There's just
obviously there's levels to the game.
Yeah, well, and Jake wasn't ready for it at that time. Now might be a little bit different, but Jake Shields. People can say what they want. It all comes down to almost like the whole Bruce Lee thing. It's not the guy with the 10,000 kicks I worry about. It's the guy with the one kick that practiced it 10,000 times. Yeah. That's Jake Shields. Basic. He's very basic in everything he does, but he's practiced it so many times, and it's what made Rickson Gracie so fucking good. He was basic, Josh. Basic. But he was so good with those basics that you couldn't stop what he was doing, even when you knew what he was trying to get to. Yeah. Couldn't stop it.
No. One of the things that I used to tell my students when I had my gyms is I would say, hey, for all the jiu-jitsu guys, I would like, these guys would come in trying to do berimbolo and doing all this kind of just stuff. I was like, okay, I never really got into a whole lot. I kept kind of a basic game, but I had a good half guard sweep game and half guard game period. And they all got good at it. But then when it came down to like, they wanted to do, the other stuff, I said, look, I'm going to remind you guys, I'm not saying that you shouldn't do it. I'm saying, let's do it. I'm going to teach you guys. We'll work it. We'll do it. But don't go expecting to rely on that stuff for it to get you out of the positions that you feel comfortable in, because you're getting mounted or you're getting put there because you're chasing these fancy moves.
Positions. That's right.
You end up losing your position, causing a scramble, and that scramble puts you back in bottom or back in mount or back in whatever it is.
You better have your basics
Let
down.
me remind you guys. And it's funny because I had to bring Jake in one day, and I would tell him like, hey, Jake Shields got 4 moves, and he's gonna do all 4 moves to you 100 times. He's gonna do them all to you guys tonight. And he just came in and just
you're not gonna stop one of them.
There's not one of them. Not one of them could stop it. It was fucking great. I mean,
I will tell you, phenomenal. It used to be with Hickson Gracie, you would roll with him and he'd say, okay, he goes, protect your right arm because that's all I'm going to go for.
Yeah.
And he'd get it. It's like, fucking, man, you'd be putting your left arm up, taking this one, man, hiding it in your, nope, it's going to get the one.
Well, I remember John
Fitch
had hurt himself, like his shoulder or something. I can't remember what it was, elbow or shoulder. And so what he did is he just tied his arm inside his in his gi and tied his belt around it.
Oh, yeah.
He rolled with everybody in class one day, just training with them. He's like, hey, I got to get better somehow. Just not utilizing my right arm tonight. And people were like, oh, it's kind of weird. I feel like but no one tapped him. I was like, you guys couldn't tap him with one arm. Next, you got anything else for us there, Dave?
Yeah, I've got a couple more here. Watchman on the Wall has 3 questions. I'm going to stick to one that kind of fits the show the best, right? Analysis here. But Watchman on the Wall does have a disclaimer as well. This disclaimer: I sporadically listen to other MMA podcasts, but you guys are the only ones I have subscribed to. I enjoy your show so much and look forward to your commentary after a weekend of fights. Thank you, sirs. Question: both of you, who would win a mythical matchup between Bellator champ Usman Nurmagomedov and Islam at lightweight?
I'm going to keep myself out of this one because I already know.
I got to stay out of it. I'll answer that one. Look, right now, you have a difference in levels as far as, just like Khabib was the big brother of Islam. If they fought, Khabib was going to win. It's almost a mentality thing too. Well, right now at 24 years of age, Usman is still getting better and better, and Islam is getting better but not at the rate that Usman is. But if they were to fight, it would be a very, very tough fight for Usman. Islam he's 31 years of age, almost 32 now. He's been doing it longer. He's got more tools in the toolbox. Now, there's tools that Usman has that are better than right now than what Islam does. His kicks are better. He's more refined in a lot of things that he does. But they train together all the time. When Islam was getting ready for his title fight against Charles Oliveira, well, Usman was also getting ready for his title fight against Patricky Pitbull, and they were training together in Abu Dhabi the entire time. Those guys know each other incredibly well. That's a fight that will never happen. But if you're going to say right now, you'd have to give it to Islam. Yes.
Okay. I'm not saying nothing. Yes, it does. I'm staying out of it.
Yeah, I don't blame
you. They're both
unbelievable.
Both extremely talented fighters.
Yep.
Both of them. Next.
Well, here's one you can get in on, Josh. And John, I pulled this from your Twitter. It was a reply to you. And I know that I think you had replied to it, and then I saw on there. Andy Murtaugh had said to you that in regards to that Fury FC situation where you had said the fighter kind of continuing to go on with what was happening in that Fury FC fight
wasn't cool.
This gentleman here replied to you on Twitter saying, "Rare L here, John," in reference to the fighter being at fault as well. A few parties are at fault here, but the winning fighter is not one of them. IMO, in my opinion.
Okay, then if that, just so you get it, that IMO at the time is your opinion, and you're entitled to your opinion, Andy. It's okay. It doesn't bother me in the least. But I don't know if you train, but I trained long enough and with enough people, and I've choked enough people unconscious, be it a triangle, be it a rear naked choke, be it an arm triangle. There was not one time that I did not realize, oh, he's out when they went out. Now, it might not have been the second they went out, but you can feel it. You feel the difference in their body because their body, the tightness stops. And you can feel that. Josh, am I saying something that's not true here?
No, let me answer this for you, John. Andy, You're a fucking idiot. I'm sorry, but like I said this the other day on our show, Andy, that this is at the end of the day, it's a sport. And that fighter being choked unconscious that long, I don't give a shit who you are. You have to have some sort of heart and just realize that you could be doing brain damage to this young man for the rest of his life. Maybe he has kids. Maybe he's got a wife. Maybe, maybe she's pregnant. Like, those are all things that go through my mind. Like, sure, of course I want to win the fight, but at what expense? I mean, at what expense? Now I can go on the other side too, where I've seen idiots go like, oh yeah, I'm hitting him too many times with some shots. The ref won't stop it. And they just turn around and tap out. That's just you being kind of like, you're trying to be the holier than thou person. I've seen guys do that inside the cage. I'm like, what are you doing? Just take him down then, hold him down, get the submission, work your way to an advantage, whatever it is. In this scenario, this guy was out so long. And I blame the ref, 100% I blame the ref. I blame the commissioner that was on the outside. But I blame the fighter also, because there was a moment there where he's looking right at the fighter. When the fighter fell to his hips, he's looking right at the fighter.
When he's on his side.
And he's on his side. He drops to his hip, falls to his side. You can see there is no facial reaction. You know what that means? He's not struggling to get out. He's asleep. There's no like, oh, I'm still fighting it. There's fighters, you naturally will make that face that says, I'm trying to get myself out. I'm doing something to fight this off. I'm pinching my shoulders. I'm pulling on the knee. Any of those things. He wasn't doing any of it. I blame the fighter too. I blame all three of them. I blame all of them. And Andy, as much as maybe like I love the fact that you're listening to our show, I love all these things, but that's being stupid. You're taking the idea of a sport and you're taking it to the next level of someone really getting hurt. It's dumb. It's the dumbest thing I've ever. It's a sport. It's not any more than a sport.
A lot of people talk about, the referees tell the fighters don't stop until I tell you to stop, and that's true. That is true.
I do all the time. Every single fight John did of mine.
Yeah. But we were just talking about John Fitch. John Fitch had a fight against Josh Berkman, if you recall, in the World Series of Fighting. All right. You had a referee in there, Steve Mazzagatti, had no clue of what he was looking at as John Fitch was being choked unconscious with a guillotine choke. Mazzagatti never stopped Josh Berkman. Josh Berkman just let go. He realized he's out, and he lets go, and John Fitch is lying there unconscious, and Josh Berkman gets up, and Mazzagatti looked at him like, what? And that was just as bad as far as the referee. It didn't last as long, but he had no idea that John Fitch was out. And Josh Berkman was enough of a sportsman to say, there's no reason for me to sit here and hold on to something. He's out. I can feel it. And very rarely would I ever think that you wouldn't be able to tell when your opponent is unconscious. You feel it.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. I agree 100%, man. And I think this is, it's up to the refs. And that's why when I looked at the fight from the UFC with, what was his name? Vega? Who was the Vega fight? Was it?
Oh, it's CJ. Ortega?
CJ.
Yeah.
The guy, what was his name? Vergata? Anyways, the CJ fight, the one that was the best fight on the card.
Yep.
Where the kid gets dropped. He gets dropped, it's out to his ass, gets dropped again, gets beat up, runs away from his opponent because he's trying to be defensive. He's doing something smart, like John would say. He's defensively doing something smart. It lets you know that he's still in this fight because he's doing what he needs to do to survive. And then he comes back and wins the fight. That's a great job by Jason Herzog.
But Jason has been eaten alive by people online. I love him.
Yeah, but Jason Herzog is probably one of the best follows on Twitter I've ever had.
I love
He's
it.
absolutely amazing.
Yeah,
Jason, his name's Vergara. Sorry, CJ Vergara.
CJ Vergara.
And, he ends up getting he gets 10-8 in the first round. He wins 10-8 the second round. Actually wins the fight in the second round. Then he goes 10-8 on the mic because the kid's awesome. The kid was awesome on the mic, doing a great job. And then I get on Twitter and I see Jason Herzog MMA, I think is what his Twitter handle is. Guys, give him a follow. He's fucking hilarious. But I love when guys try to like talk shit to him, like, oh man, like how shameful that you let the fight go on that long. And I love Jason Herzog's response.
How much did you
how much
make?
money did you lose? How much did you bet?
The guy asked Jason, how much money did you make? Like Jason is getting paid by CJ Vergara to let the fight go on. Right? It's like classic.
if you guys are gonna come at Jason Herzog, you guys better be educated. You guys better have your shit talking skills in order, because this guy is no dummy. He will spit bars at you and have you guys fucking going, what did I get myself into? John, one of the first times I followed him on Twitter, I was like, there's no way this is the real Jason Herzog, because if you meet him, he's super nice, kind of just a little kind of to himself, kind of keeps to himself, but super friendly, carries a backpack around everywhere with himself. Like, he's in the back. I'm watching him warm up before he goes out to ref the fights. Like, he's in the back stretching and doing his thing. Great guy. But then I saw him online, people talking shit to him about like this and that or whatever, and he's talking it back. And I was like, I love you for this. Don't just stand there and be a punching bag for these guys. Screw these guys, man. Stick up for yourself. That's what everyone should be entitled to, be able to stick up for themselves. And I love it, man. You better come with your A game if you're going to talk shit to him, because, I said,
the best part, let's give a little background on Mr. Jason Herzog. Okay? Everyone, thinks that, how'd you get in there? Did you realize that Jason started training with Ken Shamrock when Ken Shamrock first went down to Chula Vista, right? So he's a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, because he left that and started doing Jiu-Jitsu. Phenomenal black belt. He then decides, I'm going to get a black belt in Judo. So then he starts doing Judo also, right? He is a triathlete, and a good triathlete. The guy is one hell of an athlete. And on top of that, he's one of the smartest sons of bitches you'll ever. He's an engineer. The guy is he's fucking a stud in everything he does. And the reason why he's a great referee is because he is that smart. It takes brains to be good, and that's what he is.
Where's he training at? 540?
Now I'd be lying if I knew. I don't know exactly where he was at, because he was.
Is he out of San Diego?
Yes, living in San Diego. Trains his Malinois and everything, so he's got crazy dogs. But just fucking phenomenal guy.
That's crazy, man. He's got Malinois, huh?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Why is it that people that I know that live in San Diego, like Jessica Penne, she's got 2 Malinois. Herzog's got 2 Malinois. I got 2 other friends that have Malinois that live down there. I'm like, they are super hyper dogs. You need them.
But they are freaking fierce.
I heard they're awesome. They're awesome, but they need a lot of attention.
They are land sharks. They are crazy.
They're awesome. But if you guys want to get some good laughs, especially after some bad fights or whatever it is, go to Jason Herzog MMA, and he would love to tear you guys up. He's so fun. Dude, I seriously thought for a second.
Don't send Jason a bad tweet.
I thought he was trolling people. I thought it was like a troll, like trolling using Jason Herzog's name.
No.
And then I started following him. I'm like, wow, no, this is really you. Because there's no blue check mark or anything, but I was like, this is really you. This is awesome. I absolutely love it. I love it because the stuff he was saying, he was 100% correct.
Oh yeah.
It's awesome. He said some great stuff.
Don't take a knife to a gunfight.
All right, guys. Well, hey, that's going to wrap up our midweek show. We want to thank you guys for continuing to subscribe to our channel. So if you guys haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button and hit the little bell, because we draw some shows here and there in between the weeks. And, sometimes they're fun. Sometimes they're not. But the majority of the time they're fun. Right, John? Right, John?
Most of the time they're fun. Absolutely.
Most of the time.
Come on. It's you and me.
But yeah,
we're fun.
We want to thank you guys. We want to thank you guys for supporting us. Go to WayneInMerch.com, pick up some of our hoodies, sweaters, and sweatshirts or whatever they are, and hats and everything else that comes along with it. Plus, OnlyFans.com/WayneIn. John, take us away, bud.
I want to tell everyone, hey, tune in for the Bellator show. You're going to enjoy watching Daniel James and Marcelo Gomez. That's going to be a great matchup. It should be exciting. And I also want to give a shout out to Podcast Dave, who made it through this entire podcast holding his shit together, not puking and not crapping himself. That is a hell of a man right there. Made it all the way through. So everyone out there, tune in for our Saturday show. Sunday show, and we're gonna see you.